All right, we are back for episode 102 of Digital Divination. Ever stepping closer for that elusive 200th episode.
Are you going to do this for 97 more episodes, John?
I don't know. It's kind of fun for a while, but yeah, I'll probably forget. Eventually.
And if you're
That's
gonna,
good.
if you're gonna do it often, I have to channel a math teacher from several years ago and say, "You mean 102?" Because
102.
"and" means decimal.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
And I have not found that to be the case since, right? But it was drilled into me early on in a math teacher that the "and" is the decimal.
I think
now,
and so
that's a fair point, because you don't do like that's how I write when one would write checks, which one does not do much anymore. You don't put "and" until you're referring to the "and,"
the decimal part
out of 100 cents. Yeah. Yes. So that's very interesting. I never really connected that.
All right. Well, with that correction of my Ron, do your thing.
I have another clarification, is that I'm an employee of Wizards of the Coast, but my opinions here are mine and not theirs.
All right. Now that we get all that stuff out of the way. Okay, I'll try not to remember about that next episode then. So I'm really excited. I got approved to go to Gen Con.
Ooh,
excellent.
As a GM, and I am GMing like, let's see, it's going to be 2, 4 times 6, 24 hours of Starfinder 2 playtest.
Wow.
And you're going to do it in 12 hours of time.
No, I'm good. But
multiple tables at once. And
yes. So I'm pretty excited about the Starfinder 2 playtest that's coming out. And so I'll say that's one thing I think we can talk a little bit about coming out. Jason had pointed out something that was posted recently online. Another thing I think we can talk about, and also at Gen Con, is they're going to have the Gen Con Academy out there. Alan Bangs, one of our listeners, is in charge of that. And I thought one of the things we could talk about is kind of designing, developing, GMing for various ages on these games, especially when we're looking at K through 12 folks.
Cool.
Neat. Can I ask you, if you can't say, then don't say, but if you're 24 hours, how long is each session you're doing? An hour, 2 hours?
I don't know if I can say that. I don't know what the rules are for those sorts of things.
Well, let's presume I'm going to go ahead and make an asset of you, an assumption, right? I'm going to make an assumption that you are running like maybe quick demos of an hour session, right? And if you're doing that 24 different demos and you're doing that for 6 people at each demo, that is 144 new people you will be showing off Starfinder to. Even if they're 2-hour sessions, that's 72 people that you'll be. That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm excited. And the interesting thing, I sent the thing in, and like really quick, I get a response back. Apparently, there's not a lot of folks signing up to run Starfinder edition or playtest for Gen Con. So anybody who's interested in doing that should apply, because I think they'll get picked up for that.
They'll take you.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty excited. The other thing that's different, so I haven't been to Gen Con for a while. This is my first time since the pandemic because of my health conditions and stuff. If you do enough blocks, you get to share a room with one other person. So it's a lot better than it used to be 4-door room before. And they've since changed it to 2-door room, which is, I know enough people that I'd be happy to room with. That actually works out pretty good.
It's great. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jason, you were pointing something out about an adventure that had been already mentioned and had a product page.
Yeah, so like the June and July product pages got posted Friday. And there was a tweet about it with some cool cover art, some reveal cover arts, and some stuff for Pathfinder and Second Edition and Starfinder playtest stuff. Before I get into this adventure though, and if any of you can find the thing, they posted the cover, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the cover for the playtest rulebook. And it's definitely it's got this real bright red kind of like it's very bright, right? You know, picture the original Starfinder core rulebook. It was not not colorless, not but subdued, one might say. This has got basically it's got what's her, oh my god, Obadiah, clearly Obadiah, kind of a new and improved Obadiah. We've got in the background there, Chick, right?
Oh yeah.
The Cascadai's son, who's
Yep.
got this like ball of red energy, kind of like lighting up the whole thing, and then a new iconic. It looks like some Patra, just basically this catfolk looking.
Oh yeah, with the glasses, the goggles or whatever.
With the goggles and the
Yeah.
mechanical arm of some kind. What class is that? I'm not sure. I mean, actually, I do know, but for the purposes of this,
it is not obvious.
It's
maybe.
not obvious, I don't think. Yeah, and they're slicing up some bugs. Looks like they're slicing up some swarm.
Yeah.
Creatures. So that's pretty cool. It's got like reds and purples with this sort of green Obadiah with bigger armor on than she's ever worn. Kind of, and with the new logo, kind of heralding this sort of new look for Starfinder Second Edition, I think, which is pretty cool. And clearly, sort of, it's clear that they said, "Oh, we got to put this inside a spaceship," so we put these windows above everyone to show the stars, so that we are in space. This otherwise could be kind of anywhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just a gang of non-human people just chilling anywhere.
Yeah. Well, fighting or whatever. Yeah.
So, Ron, I'll put a link in chat. I don't know if you found it or not. So,
okay,
you can click on that to see. Yeah, it's interesting. The color scheme is a lot different. And what do you think of the logo, the Starfinder Second Edition logo? I'm kind of curious.
A mixed bag about it, I guess. I kind of it's got this it's got a little bit of this retro vibe, I think.
Right. I think that's what I was thinking, like retro comic vibe, even.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do kind of dig it. I don't know if I like that S. It's a bunch. The way that S kind of looks like a 5, but
now it runs into the T like in Star Trek.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it does kind of have a little Star Trek going on there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, the S and the T are together.
Cool.
Oh,
yeah.
I was just looking at the thing behind it, which looks like a cool ninja star. Like when I was like, over 13, I'd be like, "Oh, that's a cool ninja star."
It almost looks like this is like a hole opening up, and the logo is shooting out of it, like a hole in space. Maybe it's coming out of the drift. The logo is coming out of the drift.
Yeah, I don't have an easy way
because
to
the bottom
show
of the S
screen.
is
Yeah.
I don't have any way to show it.
Yeah. Anyway, you can go check it out. Check out the Paizo Twitter. It's the a bunch of stuff for new rule books and adventures and stuff like that. And then there's some more. And hey, there's going to be some Starfinder flip mats apparently also available with the playtest. But also, there's this adventure, this playtest adventure, basically, and then called A Cosmic Birthday by Jenny Drzabski. Member of the team. She knows her stuff when it comes to adventures, and has because on the team very much knows what's going on before getting this done before before we put it out on for freelancers to take care of. And I just wanted to talk about it because it's got a big blob on the cover, some sort of cosmic horror of some kind, and to talk a little bit about what the product page says. And I'll go ahead and read that right now. A nascent cosmic entity stirs deep within one of the Pack World's planets. To aid the god's birth, its most devoted followers search the ghost levels of Absalom Station for a sufficient power source, a strange pocket dimension existing alongside the hub of the Pack Worlds. As the entity's emergence sends ripples across space-time, a group of heroes becomes trapped in the ghost levels. With dangerous creatures and ominous power surges threatening the station, the heroes must team up with the residents of Little Akaton to investigate these horrifying new foes, stop their meddling, and stay alive. It is a first level adventure, which I assume probably has a couple. It's probably, if this is not just a thin, does it say how many pages it is? It doesn't. It's one of those things, like not a whole lot of information about it that I can't share. But I don't think it's going to be a simple like 16-page
Right.
like free
Right.
RPG day thing, right? It's priced at $25. So one can
It
assume that
is.
it's yes, one can assume that
Wow.
this is going to be essentially a module that
Yeah.
probably has first,
hmm
second, third, maybe even fourth levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
soft cover, not hardcover, at
Soft
$25.
cover,
Yeah.
yeah.
Usually. Now, I wonder if I have to subscribe now to Starfinder Second Edition to automatically start getting this.
Maybe.
Well, this
I
is,
wonder.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm super excited because I love Octurne. I think it's one of the coolest planets in the Pact Worlds, and it's the one with a slumbering evil god in the middle of it. So,
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't. It doesn't say anything about Octurne on it, but
no.
but that's
Your
because it's
Starfinder
product
lore,
text, and yeah, that's pretty deep in the Starfinder lore. And
yeah,
one thing I know that they try really hard to do is make sure that the text for what an adventure is about, or what any kind of product is about, is not just understandable to people who are deep in the lore, but the target audience is not so much the consumer as it is distributors. Distributors need
yeah.
to know,
Right.
oh, this is a thing I can sell.
Mhm.
And if
Yes.
it's chock full of buzzwords, they might be, I don't know if I can sell
You,
that so much.
you don't want to throw out, yeah, like you don't want to throw out too many of them, too many place names and whatever. But then things like the ghost levels of Absalom Station, that's evocative. You don't
Right.
really 100% need to know what that is, but from those 5 words, you can kind of get an idea of something, right? You know, Absalom Station, space station. If this is, it's it's a space game. What are the levels? Pretty easy. What are ghost levels? Why are they full of ghosts? Are
Yeah,
they hidden? Are they secret? What
that's
are
mysterious.
getting? Those of us who know the lore know what the ghost levels are. But
Right.
but this nascent cosmic entity, right? Like you said, Ron, it's definitely referring to Octurne something, right? So if the second paragraph of this goes like, this is a chance to play the playtest, right? And then it also takes place during a pivotal moment of Starfinder history. Even if you miss the playtest window, you won't want to miss the adventure. Okay, so they are probably they're doing something here. Will this adventure is going to take place on Absalom Station? It doesn't seem like it's going to be going maybe to Octurne to stop this. So is it happening?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's a change in the history, and change of the setting of Starfinder.
Well, and there's another interesting thing. So first of all, I noticed that it does say it's part of the Starfinder Adventure subscription, which
Yes.
are Redshift Rally and To Defy the
Right.
Dragon, all those. And those are all like 45, 60 pages. It's pretty.
Mhm.
Those are pretty substantial. So pretty good size thing then.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
think this is going to be.
$25. Is that the
Yeah, I
kind of the
think.
I
going price
think
for them?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Let me look at this one here.
I think it's interesting that it's
Yeah.
specifically set on the ghost levels, as we mentioned, because you remember this? The Starfinder beginner box has an adventure in it that's basically a little space dungeon crawl that I think is also set in the ghost levels of Absalom
Yeah,
Station.
I think so too. The ghost levels are a great sort of tool where you can do kind of anything in them
Mm-hmm.
and have it be a sci-fi dungeon bit crawl, basically, right? It's
Yeah.
just here's some places in Absalom Station that are deep underground, right? For lack of a
Mhm.
better word, and are full of mysterious things happening and not fully explored. So go nuts, go over here and find some goblin cultists or some creepy cosmic horrors, space trolls, that kind of stuff can kind of be in there, and you have the same familiar beats of a dungeon crawl, but being and now here are steam vents and laser blasts and stuff like that.
That is really interesting. Like Octurne kind of waking up and birthing its big horror. Talks about changes in the settings. If I will just spin off a speculation here. I know that in Pathfinder they have elected to just leave the Drow behind for Orc as being too OGL. Well, just inside the orbit of Octurne is a planet that's just chock full of Drow.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Octurne wakes up, eats up the nearby planet, and then they very neatly don't have to worry about
Yeah.
dropping the setting anymore.
Kind of like, yeah, and it reduces the number of packed worlds because there are far too many packed worlds entities, to be perfectly honest.
There's some gravitational implications from consuming a planet, though.
Yeah, but magic. You can just wave your hands
Cosmic
at it and be
horror.
like,
But
Cosmic
it's
horror can do
interesting,
anything.
though. It says the emergence sends ripples across space-time. It
Yeah.
doesn't say space and time.
It says space-time.
Space-time. I don't even know what that means now.
Cosmic entities.
It's a combination of space
That's a
and
new
time.
thing.
It's certainly
Yeah,
a very
space-time.
sci-fi word.
Yeah.
I was expecting the word continuum to come after that as I
Yeah.
was reading it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Hmm.
Space-time continuum, of
the
course.
space-time continuum is what generally.
I mean, it's in good. This is
yeah.
Jenny Jarzowski, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole product's in really good hands.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
liked everything Jenny's done.
And
Yeah. She writes fun stuff. Fun
Yeah,
stuff.
it's going to be fun for it's
Yeah.
going to be good for even like whether or not you are familiar with Starfinder or not familiar with Starfinder. I'm sure this is going to have a lot of fun stuff in it, right? And it's going to introduce you to some ways. It's I think what we're going to get to is kind of just a vibe on what Starfinder Second Edition Adventures are going to be like in general, like going forward. I think, and not to say that they can't go and do different things, but like but just a sort of like a I had my hands in a lot of the Starfinder Adventure Path, First Edition Adventure Paths, and I can imagine my fingerprints are all over there, so you kind of know what you're getting when you're getting into a Starfinder Adventure Path volume. For the most part, at least the ones that I worked on, there's a certain I feel like a lot of developers, a lot of designers have their own signatures in a lot of ways, right? Like you have your bit of I don't know. It's just it's tough to say. I can't, but it's because it's just you just kind of like you have to do the outlines from scratch, and you think about what is interesting to you. That's something you're going to work on for months and months and months and months. You have to be kind of excited about it, right? And so you find things that are exciting about stories for you. That's the sort of thing I talk about when I talk about Attack of the Swarm. Is like it gets weird in the middle there because I'm weird.
Yes.
And I didn't want it to be
your
just
fault?
like I mean, I'm the one
Mindscape
who
thing. That's
did,
you.
that was my idea. That was my idea. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like
That was weird.
it gets weird because I was like, oh, what if you go to this place? What,
Yeah.
and not just to be like, well, so it wasn't just 6 volumes. You got to fill up 6 volumes, and what it just having you fight the swarm, kind of like Battlefront. I think it would have gotten a little too stale for me to work on personally. Someone else could have done it more
less weird.
no, I'm not saying less weird. Weird in a different way, maybe.
Yeah.
More, focused on the military stuff, maybe. I don't know, but just to sort of show off again, because Starfinder 2 is also science fantasy, right? You got to have that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Throw that magic and stuff in there.
One of the things I was thinking about with this, because I'm thinking back to the Pathfinder playtest. They didn't do this sort of standalone adventure, a full-blown one, right? They had all those little snippet things where you were testing, everybody roll 8th level characters and try this and do, little sections. And so one of the things I'm thinking of with this is that they're going to have a lot of interesting lore and things in here and kind of what they're thinking of in terms of the rule set. But if that changes after the playtest, they can go and do an errata to the PDF on this.
It's true.
And you could get the whole adventure now updated for the actual rules. So, you'll have a book that has all the lore and the pictures and stuff. And then maybe some of the bones of it changes a little bit because of balance things that they discover on the playtest. But this will still be a very playable adventure, I imagine, even well after the playtest.
Definitely, because
that's going to depend a lot on. I mean, because even that type of change is not costless, and it's not zero time. So it's, can they pull the people to do the rewriting, the edit, the art, the relayout? I mean, it's why there isn't a lot of going back in order to fix up old adventure paths and things like that have had errors in them. They're just, we're moving on to other things. Not enough people, not enough time, and I totally understand that.
We'll find then that's Starfinder Second Edition Infinite that I'll write up for them, so that's okay. Either way, we'll be good.
What's that?
I mean,
I'll just write an Infinite correction once it
How
come
to
out with
fix.
the whole rule. So
I mean, it's out there.
Well, that's true too.
yeah,
One thing that really strikes me about this, you mentioned the Pathfinder playtest, the
yeah.
for second edition. And they landed in a different side of the line here. With the Pathfinder playtest, they were very clear in the logo and all the marketing. It was just Pathfinder playtest in great big letters, right? You
Mhm.
knew
Right,
this
right,
wasn't going to be the new version. And it was almost inviting you, hey, this is the playtest. This is the thing where you can weigh in. This is the thing where your choices are going to be important. They're going to direct how the thing is going to go. But at the same time, they're also kind of saying, don't get too used to these rules. They're not going to stay the same. And so those two things kind of cut against each other, I think, from a marketing perspective.
Hmm.
What they've done here is they've used the Starfinder second edition logo. The word playtest is not on it anywhere. And they say a Starfinder second edition adventure that's not on there anywhere. So I think that on one hand, people will be like, oh, well, I want something that's finished, so I will buy this one. But maybe people looking to playtest will be like, but you're implying I don't really have any say in what the ultimate thing is going to be. If you're telling me this is what Starfinder Second Edition is going to be, well, how much do I have? And this Cosmic Adventure, in particular, by not putting the word playtest on it, I think is doing something very different than Doomsday Dawn did.
Yeah.
Well, it says in the title, it says Starfinder Second Edition Playtest Adventure, though. I don't see the art page for this one.
Oh, if you go to the Twitter thread again, there is a cover. And again, this might not be a final cover. Same with the playtest the playtest
I
rulebook.
guess that's true too.
Just say playtest rulebook.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I
You see it on the Twitter? Yeah.
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 Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
It didn't say it on that. It just says in the product page itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
There's
there could
also
be
I'd
the
also
word
say when
wrong.
they mentioned the ghost levels and the picture they have on Twitter for the Starfinder flip mat, it shows kind of a slice of 4 different maps,
Mhm,
one of
mhm.
which
Right.
is so iconically ghost level, right? Kind of the abandoned industrial kind of dungeon area.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Something I just noticed, if you look at this virtual cover for the playtest rulebook, is that we've landed on a logo, like how Pathfinder has the Pathfinder P that is kind of like on the base of the core, base of the book, so the bottom of the spine.
Right.
We've got this S, this sort of like S inside of a diamond logo.
Yeah.
That I didn't think was an S for half a second. I thought it was just a swirl or something, and then I realized, oh yeah, that's the Starfinder S now instead of with the Pathfinder P. Just a little
You
canted to
think
one side.
because the big point going off to the right extends kind of far for just a logo to be on something, like to fit on the binding and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that.
this
Yeah.
is not the final
Yeah.
version of what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it will fit. Whatever they'll do, it'll fit it on a logo. I mean, maybe they'll change it, right? I don't know. Twist it or tweak it because you've got the kind of like diamond shape that's behind the Starfinder main logo, and then the Starfinder S, which kind of does the Star Trek-y kind of like the edges of the S are going out further than they would in a normal typeface. So, but arranged differently than they are on the Starfinder logo, the full logo.
Well, there's some other interest now that we're looking at this. I'm kind of looking at the picture again, the cosmic birthday picture. I'll try to remember to put a link to this at least on the YouTube channel so people can click on it here. So a couple of things I noticed. First of all, Navasi's got a double holster for pistols, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how you carry multiple pistols on one side, right? And then ISEF looks like they have really long hair.
It looks like they may have grown out their mohawk. Yeah.
The mohawk, yeah. Which is different, I think, than
then kind of the mohawk look.
Yeah, than the iconic that it's been. So a little bit, some tweaks there in the art. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Navasi's cloak too, like is more ragged here in the front.
Yes.
This is telling me we're going to see, and with the same the change to Obazaya on the core rulebook cover. The change that we know the difference between we're getting a new iconic mystic we're going
Yeah.
to see a lot of changes to any other iconics that
Yeah.
might exist, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is good.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm getting more and more excited. I just got my plane ticket, so I got pretty excited
There
already.
you go.
But yeah, I'm actually going to visit a friend. I'm gonna go to Gen Con, and then I'm gonna take a bus to visit my friend in Dayton, and then I'm gonna take a bus back to Cincinnati and fly back from Cincinnati.
Wow.
Because it's a little bit closer. Because the bus is like $18 to go from Indianapolis to his place. It's like, he visits me out here all the time in the holidays, and I used to, every time I went through the middle of the country, I'd stop and visit him. I haven't done it for a while, so I figured, okay, I better do that. But it's just amazing, the flight fluctuations, pricing, and all that stuff. Yeah, you guys are lucky if you go. You don't have to worry about your own pocket stuff. But for us non-industry people, the dollar amounts, man. Anyway, so that's cool. Well, the other thing, again, as I mentioned, was Alan had talked about he's going to be doing the Paizo Academy, he'll be in charge of running games for folks that are under 18 and under, basically there. And one of the things that I was thinking about is particularly for Starfinder, how for the most part it's been very family friendly. There are some content warnings. I know, like when I played, I can't remember it. Threefold, no, not that one. What's the other one? The horror one.
Oh, Signal and Screams.
Signal Screams
Signal
had a
Screams.
content warning on that.
That was important.
Yeah, that was an important one. I didn't like some of that content, so I'm glad there was a warning in there. No, so we get
You're welcome.
Down. Yeah, and then of late, with Starfinder Organized Play in season 6, so we're starting season 7 this summer. Season 6, I wrote an adventure, and my adventure and another one adjacent to it both had content warnings as well. And so there are some things in there that could be trigger things. And then something that happened earlier, like season 4, it didn't initially have a content warning, but it happened to come out during the pandemic. And so they had to go back and do a retroactive content warning, because you're basically, Starfinder's going to help stop a pandemic and all this kind of stuff. So they had to go back and put a content warning on that after the fact.
That makes sense.
But so in terms of, kind of building these adventures and designing them, does Paizo kind of go out of their way to make them more family friendly, or is that vary?
I think we want to make it be PG. Probably maybe not necessarily all ages, but nothing.
Right.
Never anything that's so objectionable that would get like like a real. I mean, obviously these games have lots of violence and whatnot. So
right,
that sort of sets the bar, right? We're not. The adventure is never going to be just about making a birthday party for your leshy friends. There's going to be some, not necessarily, not that you can't work around it, but like there will be the stats for something to fight. So I think it's important to make it so that they are, for the majority, friendly to younger, most ages, the usual sort of like
right.
13 and up, people who can play the game, understand the game and enjoy it. I think there is a good market out there for the very, very all ages kind of like games and whatnot, things you can play with your younger kids and introduce them to, tabletop role-playing games and that kind of thing.
Now, Ron, I know before you moved on to Wizards, you were working with a company that was kind of doing more pushing the boundaries for Starfinder.
Oh my goodness, yeah, the Grimmer Space stuff was sort of very much um, Starfinder sort of, rules and the like, but it was very much horror to such a degree that the different systems, the different parts of it, all had different types of horror that were sort of emblematic of that area, right? If you went with one of the one of the groups that was all about the body horror, it was leaning hard into the body horror. There was a whole planet that's sort of populated with, in addition to the people that are there, it's also populated with ghosts, but they're not like they're ghosts of some ancient vanished civilization reacting to things that don't even exist anymore, right? Some of them will fade out of your wall, shriek, and then sort of move at a weird angle through. And it was just sort of unusual rather than just sort of typical ghost stories. So there's a science fiction sort of element to it as well. Alien ghosts, I guess you could say. And so being able to hit a lot of those different elements is fantastic. The Grimmer Space stuff that I did a fair amount of development for them. And each time was kind of getting myself, okay, what's the zone of this type of horror? And they were like, yeah, we can go, we're not restricting ourselves to the PG-13 of like the hardest that Paizo will go. We're going way harder than that. But the rating, you mentioned the content rating, or the content warning that they have. And I think there's probably, if I have to predict, there's probably going to be a division at some point between like an age rating and a content warning, because I think right now there's a tendency in Paizo and in a lot of other role-playing games I've seen to do they kind of put both of those concepts together, a content warning and an age rating. But if you've got sort of this visceral fear of spiders, or what's it, the typophobia? What's the one where the little holes of things is really super creepy?
Trypophobia.
Right. Then it kind of doesn't matter what age you are. That's still content you want to know about coming into it. But if it's got certain amount of violence or gore in the descriptions or things like that, then that's a rating thing, I suppose, for ages.
Right.
I think that it's important, and the reason I point this out is because even if you're gaming for kids, even if you know that the story is going to be pitched to the appropriate age level for 9 to 11-year-olds, let's say, whoever you're running for, you still kind of want to get a sense of the content stuff, right? If any of those kids are particularly weirded out by spiders, all right, maybe falling into the spider nest is not something you should have in your adventure, right?
Oh yeah.
So, anyway, that's become kind of a part of the a part of the conversation around gaming more recently. I really like to see that. I think that content warnings are more frequent, which I like to see. There's some things that even if they hit at all ages, I'd rather not see in my games. So it's nice for me to have sort of content warnings to skim past and things. So that's really great to see.
Tabletop role-playing needs a version of what some video games have been doing lately, which is the arachnophobia slider, which lets you, in games that have spiders, if you turn it all the way down, it turns the spiders into a blob, or in some games, it's just the word spider. Float in 3D text kind of floating at you.
Says the word.
Yeah, it just says the word spider.
Wow.
It would be great to have something along those lines, but that's just what you do is what I've done in the past is just kind of like, well, these are maybe we're not using tokens here, but or minis, but these are spider. These are not spiders. These are six-legged elephants, and they're coming at you. They're big elephants, and they're spinning their elephant webs at you, and just sort of like kind of like reskin the idea of the monster.
Yeah, you mentioned spiders. It's kind of funny. There was a Mandalorian episode in season 2. I don't know if either or both of you have seen that.
Oh yeah,
he's in the ice cave with all the spiders.
Yeah.
Oh man, that freaked me out. And now I have 2 screens here, right? And I have my rotating images are all the concept art from Mandalorian seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, that they show at the end. Okay.
Yeah. And what'll happen is when that comes up, it takes over both screens, and there's a massive spider there and all these little ones there, and it just freaks me out. Like, oh, I gotta close this. So anyway, yeah, I could do without having all the. Yeah, that's good. Well, what about GMing? So you've kind of alluded a little bit, Jason, to that. Ron, do you have any tips for GMing things that you have kids, then you've been GMing them for a while. How do you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, I have. Not only do I have kids that I've been GMing for since they were young, but I've since done some GMing for kids even younger than mine. Like we're a group where my kids, who are early teenager years, are kind of the oldest of the kids there. I've been recently helping out a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who wants to start up a game for her oldest boys and some of their friends who are kind of that 9 to 11 age that I just mentioned. Um, and one of the things that I didn't do well enough, that it took me longer to learn than it should have, is frequent breaks, right? These are kids are going to need, they're going to need to run around, right? So you do maybe one fight and let somebody, then let the kids run around or whatever. You keep your sessions very short, or if your sessions are going to be longer, like 2 hours, which is kind of a long time to sit in one place. Kids don't even have classes that long. They get breaks in between, right? Make sure you've got specific scheduled breaks for them to kind of get the physical energy out, or if they've been sort of antsy and they're grabbing at other people's dice or pencils or whatever, right? It lets them get kind of that energy out so they can focus better on the game. And one thing that I find myself doing with kids that I really should do more often when I'm gaming for anybody, even adults, is really invite the kids to help set the scene, right? Oh, there's a treasure chest in this room. Okay, what else is in the room? Hey, what else is here? And they like being part of sort of setting the scene, but I think everybody does. That's part of the reason we're playing role playing games. So that's the two pieces of advice I think I have is make sure you're scheduling a lot of breaks for the physical activities. Keep in mind that kids don't sit in one place and game for hours at a time the way that we adults do, because getting up and moving around is sometimes a bit of a chore, but for them it is not. It is a necessity. And help them, invite them in to set the scene.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I haven't done a lot of kids. I've been to conventions, and I've had a couple folks have brought their teens and preteens into play, and it's tougher for me because I don't know the extent to which the parent wants me to explain things, or if sometimes the parent's explaining stuff, right, how things are going, or if they want me just to treat them like I would treat any adult going through, expecting them to pick up stuff. So for me, it's a tougher thing because I've never, my kids have never played role-playing games. Now, when they're adults, they play, but they never played. I wasn't cool enough then, but apparently now it's a cool thing. But yeah, so I don't have the experience, so it's that's good to see. And I've thought about doing some at Gen Con. I'll probably get kids in the play test them.
Yeah, if it's kids you don't know, one of the things that I learned, I actually watched a friend learn this at a convention. There's a very tough lesson with, don't think just because they're kids, they either aren't paying attention or don't know. There was a young woman at my friend's table. I mean, she was maybe 11 or 12 and was there with her dad and was on like a drawy tablet or whatever with most of the time. So it seemed like she was just kind of totally checked out and helping dad. And then they go to the first combat and it's like, oh, it's your turn. And she kind of looks over and goes, all right, well, I guess my fighter's going to go here. No, I'm going to go ahead and move over here because my fighter's then going to use power attack for this many points, and I get this plus and these other pluses, and boom. Well, that's actually a crit because of my expanded thing, and boom, boom, boom. It just totally just blew away. She plainly knew the game and plainly knew everything that was happening at the table. And my friend, who had just assumed she was just totally checked out and would have to hold her hand through the whole thing, realized, oh no, she's paying more attention than the other adults at the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've encountered that. Actually encountered that at a special something, and somebody actually had headphones on, and it turns out there were other reasons why they were doing that. But yeah, as soon as it came to the action, wow, they were all over it. Oh, cool. Well, yeah, this is fun, so we've kind of covered some more Starfinder second edition stuff and some additional things. You guys have anything you want to talk about next time? Or if our listeners have ideas, let us know as well. But you guys have any things you want to talk about?
Can I tell you that I've discovered something just now?
You
Again,
can.
more about the playtest stuff
Okay.
that's coming out. So the description for the flip mats says there's going to be another adventure and drops the name of that adventure in the
Ooh.
description of the flip mats. So there's like a stealth adventure announcement
Interesting.
in there. The adventure's called Empires Devoured, and
Wow.
no real idea when that's coming
Mm.
out. So that's something we can maybe speculate wildly on if we want to, or just wait until they tell us more.
Well, until there's a product page for
Until there's a product page, yeah.
which will probably, so these were June and July drops. So no, this is expected August. So maybe that's a September drop then.
Maybe it's a September drop, yeah.
So we got to wait. The
We'll have to wait.
announcement won't
We'll have
come
to wait.
for another month. So
keep an eye out for that, though. I think that's something we should, well, once we know more.
yeah, good. I'm going to have to check
about.
that out again.
Oh, we can.
Next week,
right.
though, I don't know. Let's we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
as
we
usual.
can. Okay. I'll look for it. How's that? And I'll
Yeah.
see if I can find it.
Okay. Good.
I'm John.
And I'm Ron.
And I'm Jason. And this has been Digital Divination.